We are live with the Short-Term Rental Pros podcast. Today, I am joined by Mark, who has set up hundreds of short-term rental properties. He works for STR Cribs, which honestly might be one of the coolest names I have ever heard in the space, and is a company that I've been hearing about for a while through some of my some of the folk who have been on the podcast actually themselves. So I'm super excited to really hear the magic behind the madness in terms of how to set up killer short-term rental properties in 2024. So, Mark, man, thanks so much for joining.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me on, Jeremy. I'm super excited to chat with you today. Just kind of share some of our collective knowledge and what we've learned after setting up hundreds of homes. Um, our whole team is really passionate about what we do, which is design and renovation for short-term rental properties. Like you said, you've talked to some previous people on your podcast before that are clients of ours and have used our service. And so, yeah, really excited to chat with you today.
Yeah, man. So, first of all, tell me how'd you get into short-term rentals? How many years ago? And first of all, where are you? You got like a cabin in your background. So where the heck are you, man? Are you at a short-term rental? Kind of that looks like a Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Western NC, STR if I've ever seen one. So where are
Yeah,
you?
buddy. Yeah, definitely. I am at a short-term rental. I am in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and so I'm based out at northwest Florida in the Emerald Coast. And me and my wife decided we wanted to get away, spend a little time in the mountains. So we got a short-term rental up here, and we're super excited about that. I'm thinking we might actually head over to like Asheville and then make our way to Myrtle Beach in a couple weeks as well. And so we're going to be doing some traveling over the next few weeks, staying at short-term rentals. So it'll be fun.
Dirty Myrtle.
Yeah,
Alrighty.
yeah. And
Okay,
then,
so
yeah. Oh, you want me to go through that? Yeah, just let me give you a little background on myself.
yeah.
Um,
Let's get into it. How'd you pimp out or cribitize 200 properties? What led you to doing that?
yeah. So just like anything, and just like probably everybody who's listening to this, we all kind of seem to just fall into things. I was in the prop tech real estate space about 4 years ago, and I bumped into one of the founders of another design company that's in the short-term rental space. We became friends. I came on board to help kind of grow that program. And so we put together probably, I would say 200, 300 properties with them over the last 3 or 4 years. And then I've been with STR Cribs as a new addition to their team in the last couple months. And they alone have done a couple hundred properties as well. And so kind of our collective knowledge is we've done over about 500 short-term rentals in the last 3 or 4 years. So it's been fun.
Wow, 500. And how are you doing as many, people Airbnb busts, nobody's doing Airbnb anymore. Like, are people still doing it? Are you guys still, do you have projects, less projects, more projects?
Yeah, I would say the demand is sky high, and it's probably higher than I've ever seen it in the last 3 or 4 years. Um, I like to call it the amenities arms race, right? Like
I
what
like
you
that. I might use that.
Yeah, I'm going to give myself a selfless shout out here, but I'm actually writing a book called The Amenities Arms Race. We'll get some copies to you here in about a month once we're done. But what used to work in short-term rentals just doesn't really work anymore. And so when I hear like Airbnb bust, or, our properties are not doing well, people complaining, well, when you look at their home, there's a reason that they're not doing well. And I think that's really
Pretty
hard.
obvious, I would
Yeah, it's
say.
obvious, man. And
Takes
I think
2
it's a
seconds.
hard pill for some people to swallow, right? Because they're like, I've always done this. It's always worked. It doesn't work anymore. And so guests are looking for a heightened experience. They're looking for amenities and nicer accommodations. And if you're not willing to go all out on your house and set up a great property, I think you're better off staying on the sidelines. And yeah, I would say that for those people that don't want to invest in the home and create an experience, it is an Airbnb bust. They're not going to be able to, put an air mattress on the floor and get a Walmart set of pots and pans and think that they're going to make a bunch of money as with a short-term rental.
So we're talking. All right, I love it. This conversation just got interesting. We're talking about the amenities arms race today, and I love that. And I look at some of your clients' properties, and frankly, I didn't know this until recently. But I use their properties as my, like, all right, I see what they're doing in X location. I'm going to take the amenities here and I'm going to copy and paste and do them here. So I've been, think I'm in America and they're the Soviets, so to speak. And I'm going to I'm going to try to level up what they're doing. But honestly, your clients have kept leveling up everything, where I might think I'm catching up, and then I see a new property and I'm like, damn, like, all right, I've got
Yeah.
work to do. So yeah, tell me, when did this amenities, like, when did it become very apparent that you just need to really amenitize your properties, and then how have you guys really jumped on that?
Yeah. Well, I would say you're right. Like we like to think of ourselves as our properties are the North Star, the kind of the gold standard. And we get a lot of people that are
They are
watching.
mine. They are my goal. Like I look at thousands of people's listings, that are your clients and aren't your clients. And frankly, the ones I use, and I even tell people I work with, I'm like, hey guys, this is how you succeed nowadays. Like, look at this portfolio here.
For
It
sure.
is, frankly, I'll toot your guys' horn. Like I've said that on the podcast about your clients, not knowing that it was you guys behind it. So you guys are
Yeah.
the North Star there.
Yeah. And so then, I would like circle back to those clients, right? I think that how this started and how we proved the concept was a couple clients took a chance and said, hey, we want to go really heavy into the design and the amenities piece and see how this works out for us. Like, we're going to take a property in Scottsdale, and instead of just putting some furniture, I mean, did you see the skit on Saturday Night Live the other night
Yeah,
about
the
the
designers.
designers?
Yeah.
That was so perfect, man. Because it's
But
like,
that was like succeeding in 2020 Airbnb.
yeah, those designers had a great business in 2020. They don't have one in 2023, 2024, wherever the heck we are now.
Or they don't have a track record, at least, of success.
For sure. And so those kind of designs used to work. And we had a client that said, hey, I want to do something different. I want to go all out on this. I want to spare no expense, do the wallpaper, get a local muralist, put all the amenities in the backyard, convert the garage into a game room, add built-in bunk beds. Don't buy cheap IKEA bunk beds. Build these really cool bunk beds with built-in
I love
slides.
your guys' bunk beds with built-in slides.
Our bunk beds are awesome, man. My daughter is 4 years old, and every time she sees me on my computer just sitting kind of, doing some late night work or something, she comes up and she wants to see our houses, and she always talks about the bunk beds. And whenever we go to travel, she says, is there going to be bunk beds? Are there going to be bunk beds? And she's always disappointed when we don't stay in one of our homes because their bunk beds suck compared to ours. So, but yeah, man. So they took a chance. The client took a chance. They went all out on the property, and they saw a huge return in their revenue. So they doubled their projections, and they immediately had proof of concept. And they said, hey, this is a blueprint we have to do over and over again. And as a construction and design company, we were happy to oblige. Like, if you want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars renovating this home, of course we're going to be happy to do that work for you. What's cool now is we have data to back that design. And we can say with certainty, if you do these certain things to your home and you invest into the property, you're going to see a return on it. And I think that has really driven the conversation and given credibility to the amenities arms race, which is, it's not just an idea. It doesn't just look cool in pictures, but it actually works in real life and generates revenue for you.
That's what we're all about, generating revenue. So do you have, what I'm curious about is, do you have the math on these different amenities? I'll start with the amenities that I'm currently infatuated with. One, pickleball court, looking about adding those to my portfolio. How much does a pickleball court normally run? And then how much, I know, again, obviously each property is going to be different, but like, what do you think an ROI on a pickleball court is?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one that's difficult to answer because we work in all 48 states and every market is so unique. And
Sure.
so, I think about like hot tubs, right? I'm staying obviously at a property in Blue Ridge. If you don't have a hot tub, you're not going to compete in the Smoky Mountains, right? But if you put a hot tub in a Florida property, well, no one really cares. Like, I live in Florida. I don't have a hot tub because you just have to walk out your back door and you're in a hot tub
Yeah.
8 months out of the year, right?
Yeah.
And so specific amenities have higher rates of returns in certain markets. And then the
Totally.
same thing goes for the cost of it, right? What it costs to install a pickleball court in Clearwater, Florida versus Hudson, New York, where you and me were talking about properties earlier, is going to be very different. What I would say is, like, I don't want to be a politician and dance around the question. I just don't want to like put my foot in my mouth. And so what I would say is every market's unique. One of the advantages to using us is that before we let you put an amenity into a property, We're going to make sure that there's data to support it. And then we're going to get you the best pricing on the labor and the cost of goods to get that amenity installed, right? You can you call 3 contractors. You're going to get 3 drastically different quotes for the same scope of work. And what's cool about using us is that we're after the best pricing and the best quality. And people can't, they can't bullshit us. We know what it costs to do the work.
Yeah. You've done it a few times.
Yeah. Like I got a great example. We have a client that wanted to do a sand volleyball court in Florida, and they got a quote for $85,000. We got the sand volleyball court installed for 15 grand. And they couldn't believe it. They were ready to pay this subcontractor 85 grand to install the volleyball court because they thought that's what it cost. Well, we were able to look at that and go, wait. That doesn't make sense. You're way overpaying for this amenity. It should cost this. And then we got it done for that.
Do you guys do like, so for instance, the most recent house I got, a lot of the heavy lifting at first was essentially like preventative maintenance. The house had a lot of cement in the back and there was no drainage for that. So is that something you guys look at, is like, because that's the first thing I do is like, all right, heavy rain, where does the water go? Like if we're going to finish out a workshop and turn it into a bedroom, we got to make sure that, there's a sump pump and whatever, all that stuff. So water is not an issue. So is that something you guys care about?
Definitely, man. That's a huge reason that people like to get us involved early in the inspection process when looking at a home or going under contract on a home, because we'll look at everything that needs to be done on that home, price out those repairs, let you know what's going to become an issue or not an issue, and then look at your long-term plan. And so we have some clients that want to hold assets for at least 8 years. They say this asset has to perform for the next 8 years to make sense for our portfolio. Totally. And if a roof only has 2 to 3 years left, well, gosh, we're going to get that thing replaced now, because why would you wait for that roof to fail? You could be in the middle of your peak season 3 years down the road and have to close down bookings and cost yourself 10, 20 grand in revenue when you could just get that thing done now, knowing that it's going to become a problem in the future. So we're a big fan of preventative maintenance on repairs on the house, getting things done today that will become problems in the future. And then being kind of that advocate for you as you're in the buying and inspection phase process to let you know, like, hey, this is going to become a problem for you in the near future. You should call this out right now. Try to get a credit, maybe try to find a different asset. And so, yeah, I definitely think we can help on both of those fronts.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. As I'm literally getting texted by my local project manager for the most recent project. We have, not only do we have, water kind of coming into the house, and we had cement there where it just wasn't draining and kind of leading into the backyard. But then at the back of the pool, there's a hill, and the water was coming down the hill. And we have an outdoor fireplace wall, and that wall was starting to crack, and water was undermining the cement back there. So he's sending me photos of like riffraff was put in, in order to, make sure that the wall, whatever. We're doing preventative maintenance as we speak. So that's interesting. I'm glad to hear that you guys, because I know some other services in the space really just kind of like, I like to say, is like they put like lipstick on a pig, and they don't, that's not their priority, or they don't care, frankly, or that's just not what they deal with. And they're honest with that. They don't say, oh, we're going to do it, and they don't do it. But that's good to know that that's really the first step, right? You guys think like, all right, what are the preventative maintenance issues here? Or I guess when you guys, so how early? So let's say I sent you a property earlier. So what's the process look like? I just sent you one. Are you going to tell me how I pimp this out or how I cribitize it? What the potential would be, or what's this going to look like?
Yeah, definitely, man. I think like any contractor, we're going to start with the discovery phase and find out what you're trying to accomplish with the property. Dollars, man. What's your competition look like? What's your budget look like? And then make sure that we're in the same, we're in the same room having the same conversation. If you want to spend 30 grand to completely redo and furnish a 3,000 square foot, 5-bedroom, 5-bath, we're going to tell you we're not the right fit for you. Right. But if you've got a healthy budget and you're willing to invest in the property, and we can sink our teeth into it, I like to make sure that we're relatively on the same page, right? Like, this is a good example. I got a roof put on a property, and the roofer said, hey man, the range is 12 to 16 grand. I said, well, what's the range difference? He said, well, I don't know what the sheetrock, I don't know what the plywood looks like underneath the roof today. Same thing with us, right? Until we actually dive into a project, we don't know all the things we don't know. So we like to make sure that we're in the same range as far as a budget goes, subject to change. If we get into a home and we tear up floors and there's a bunch of dry rot and you got to fix it, well, we're going to let you know, and then things are going to change. But yes, we have that initial conversation, get on the same page, come up with a game plan. And if you think we're the right team to help you, you hire us, and then we dive in and start ripping up floors, right?
So that's the first thing you do is, and you guys do the renovations too. So you'll say, hey, we need new floors here. We need to paint the walls. You guys come with that general scope of work. And then after that's all done, this place needs to be furnished.
Definitely. Yeah. Get all the renovations done. We like to think of them as happening simultaneously. And that's really how we stay super efficient and can get things done faster than most folks. Because you'll have a construction manager that's dealing with all the construction, bidding things out, getting people there to do the work, pulling permits. And then at the same time, you have a designer who's working simultaneously with them to come up with a beautiful design, pick out furniture, make sure you have all the amenities and essentials. And so we do those at the same time. And then when it works in perfect harmony, they all come together at the end, and you've got a completed project.
Ooh la la. So how do you guys deal with, I mean, you operate in 48 different states, or I don't know, you gave a big number there. How do you deal with so many different permitting processes?
Yeah, it's a lot of work, man. We have a project manager. You'd mentioned a guy that we know mutually earlier.
I didn't even know he worked for you guys. This is I'm learning that that you guys have been hiding in plain sight this whole time.
Yeah, somebody told me the other day we're the industry's best kept secret, and quite frankly, I feel like we are, because we've primarily worked just for a handful of clients over the last couple of years, and we have not been available for everyday investors. And so we've just started over the last few months to build our team, bolster our team, and take on work for other investors. But yeah,
y'all heard it here first.
You heard it here first, definitely. But yeah, our buddy that we both know, he's one of our great project managers, and we really lean heavily on their experience and their know-how to do the research, make sure that we're compliant with the local city, county rules, make sure that we're, compliant with the HOA and getting those permits pulled and inspections. So there's a lot involved to this. Like, I know when I talk about it, it just sounds easy and it's like, oh, this is great, they're going to handle everything. But then when I hand it off to my team, there's a lot of work that goes involved into it. And it's really, labor intensive, and making sure that you have good people. And when you have good people, things seem to work out, and we have good people.
Yeah, for sure. I can attest, at least the guy I know. I guess maybe I can attest to you now. We'll see by the end of the podcast. I'm not. I
don't have your approval just yet.
Yeah, I'm a tough critic, man. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. You're doing great. So, all right. So we've got through. So you guys, preventative maintenance which again, this might be the only podcast someone talks about preventative maintenance. I don't really hear that much when I live. But that's first. Then renovations. In the meantime, you guys are designing. Do you guys come up with mood boards or offer 3 options, or you're just like, guys, we know what to do here. Just let the chefs do their thing?
Yeah, I would say that let the chefs do their thing. We're obviously open to a little bit of input and insight and ideas that the client have, but we really believe we're the experts. And so let us come up with the design. We do 3D renderings.
Y'all Matterport,
we
get at the beginning.
Yeah, we start with a Matterport on every project, and then our designers come up with mood boards and 3D renderings and furniture floor plan layouts. And so you're actually able to see hey, here's my house from a bird's eye view, and here's where the bed's going. Here's where the nightstand's going. Here's the measurements on those items. There's a mural on this wall. There's a TV on this wall. And so we go very in depth into our designs so that prior to ordering all your products, you get a beautiful picture of what that house and property is going to look like when it's all done. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of our design team. They're really one of the best in the industry.
And I will say, I know you've just started working with the retail, kind of the retail investors, so to speak. That will be an annoying part with some people.
Totally,
and that will be the way, early on, you're going to have to do some sort of expectation leveling with them, because if they're like, oh, but actually I want to, buy this furniture here for, that's just that's going to be they're going to have to understand to let you, to trust you on that.
Definitely. Yeah. To lean on our expertise, and to the reason you're hiring us is because we know what we're talking about, and we know what kind of furniture is the right quality, what's going to last, how to best accommodate your occupancy, your desired occupancy, really all those things. We hope, if you hire us, you need to lean on us for that.
They're like, we can
And
spend $500 and buy bunk beds. Why don't we
yeah,
just do that?
yeah. And I would say to
How much does that built in with the slide?
those things cost 10 to 15 grand, man. They are not cheap.
But they are worth it.
They are absolutely worth it. And yeah, I would say to those, like the investors that are very DIY, want to do it themselves, want to be really hands-on, we're obviously not the best fit, but that doesn't mean that we don't want you to be inspired by what we're doing. And something as simple as like a full-length mirror in a room, those cost $200 or $300, and it completely changes how the entire room looks and feels. And 99.9% of all women want a full-length mirror in a property, and probably about 80% of all guys want a full-length mirror in the bedrooms as well. And so you can still learn from us and take some tips and ideas, and hopefully they can, I like to say a rising tide lifts all ships. And if they increase the quality of their properties, it just, it benefits the whole industry, and we all do better because of it.
Yeah, totally. And maybe this is someone who's working with a client, and a client's property, and they're trying to convince their client to add an extra amenity here or there. This isn't, and not just like people listening here. They come from all ranges of the spectrum. People who own, two houses, or people who manage houses for third party, people looking into managing houses. I mean, I've had people, in my mastermind who've helped someone else design and set up a house from nothing, from scratch.
Yeah.
So it's not even only people thinking about their own home purchases here. Like this is an entire landscape, and regardless of where you are in the landscape and where you are on your journey, you've got something to learn from those who are doing it the best. And I mean, there's probably not many folk out there who are setting up more houses than you ever in the history of short-term rentals, or currently, or are there? I don't know. Or correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know really anybody who's doing it at the scale and at the quality that we're doing it at. So that's really exciting for us, at least to have a head start on the competition. I do see a lot of great houses out there. Like, there's a lot of great designers that do really good quality work and create beautiful spaces. I think that our distinct advantage, like you said, is the preventative maintenance, that we are licensed contractors and we can do renovations, and we can really tie it all together versus just doing designs. And so, yeah, I like to
you guys got permits. Shit. Pardon me. That's my biggest personal, annoyance or pain point is the permitting process. But y'all have probably done it 1,000 times.
And then what it is it's our problem, not your problem, right?
Yeah, exactly. So how do you have clients who, like, you guys try to permit something and then it takes 3 months because whatever it might be just takes a while, and then they get frustrated with that, or what's that?
Yeah, I think our goal is, and that's why we like to look at a scope of work prior to you hiring us, and kind of have that initial discovery, and to find out. We've got a client that wanted to add a bathroom to a property in Florida. They have a 4-bedroom. They wanted to add a bedroom and go from a 4-2 to a 5-3. And we had the candid conversation, which was, hey, in order to do this bathroom, you've got to permit it. You've got to do plumbing. You've got to do electrical. It's a lot of work. You got to move walls. You got to cut concrete. And that bathroom adds 2 months to the renovation time and adds $20,000 to the overall budget cost. Is it really worth it? Does a 5-bedroom, 3-bath really make that much more money over a 5-bedroom, 2-bath in that market? Our conclusion was no, it doesn't. And having that extra bathroom really doesn't generate any more revenue for you from the numbers standpoint. And so we were able to talk that client. Like, how many contractors do you know talk clients out of adding bathrooms to houses? None of them. They all say, great, you want to do a bathroom? It's 25 grand. Write me a check. We'll get it going. We didn't do that. We had that hard conversation that said, you don't need a bathroom. You don't need a 3rd bathroom for this to be a great short-term rental. Save yourself the money, save yourself the time. And we were able to launch that project way ahead of schedule. And the client was thrilled, and the property's doing really well. So.
Gotcha. So yeah, you guys aren't incentivized by cost, and I think like the U.S. government, cost plus programs are very, where you take a percentage of the cost, and if costs go higher than they're supposed to be, you get compensated. That's not your incentive structure.
It's not. But you know what our incentive structure is, Jeremy? Our incentive structure is your success as a real estate investor in your home as a short-term rental. Because we're not in this to do one project for you. Like Jeremy, we don't just want to do one project for you. We want to do every project for you. And so we want to exceed your expectations on the first one, set you up for success, and you to make a bunch of money on these properties, get a great return, and say, guys, that's performing so well. Let's go buy a second one, a third one. And I mean, that's why we've done 150 projects for one of our clients, because they've been able to find success with what we've done. And then we've reciprocate that success with a lot more projects.
And then what do you guys, so no, this is all very, very informative today. Just to kind of go back, we've talked about what specific amenities drive success. We've talked about the pickleball court specifically. We've talked about the barn or the slides. I see that you guys have been starting to add play structures like within the last, I don't know, 6 months. Or give me a wink, wink, nod, nod. Is that something that makes makes you
the
some
play
money there?
structures, the kid cities have been really, really unique. It definitely separates
Cities.
those properties. So yeah.
I guess anything else? Any other quick one? It could be something that's zero, cost $200 to something that costs $100,000. What makes you crush it?
I would say that definitely invest in some nice interior design pieces. So have full length mirrors. Those are really inexpensive. They make a room pop. They're a nice amenity for people to have. Have a splash of color. If your property looks like every other property with, the black IKEA metal bed frame, a white bed, and a painting from Ross that doesn't make any sense and is out of place. Like, what would it look like that room if you just invested maybe $1,000 or $2,000 and had a really nice rug, a couple nice USB lamps, an accent with wallpaper on it, and some nice local decor pieces? A couple grand can really bolster the way a room looks, and then give you a great return. And so those are some small things that you can do really to the interior to just add some quick value. And then on the outside, can you add some inexpensive games, some amenities? Cornhole's a fun game to play. Can you do a fire pit? Can you do giant Jenga, Connect Four? Like, what are some inexpensive games you can add outside that click those amenity boxes when you're building out your listing? And then give people, when they're looking at your photos, a vision of them playing games and having fun and enjoying that outside space. That's really what you want to do, is create spaces that people are going to make memories in. And then you can, like you said, then you can scale that up and you can spend 30, 40, 50 grand on a pickleball basketball court. Well, pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America. I was just looking at a property in Melbourne, Florida, and they wanted to do it. And I said, okay, let's look at pickleball courts for rent. And so we went online. There's only 2 places that have pickleball courts for rent. They're booked out like 3 or 4 weeks before you can even grab a time on a pickleball court.
And maybe that's our new business today. Pickleball courts for rent. Yeah.
Let's go at the local YMCA. And so I'm thinking, well, gosh, if people in your market can't even rent one to go play at, who's to say that people will pay whatever it is more, however we quantify that, more to come stay in your home just because it has a pickleball court. So you capture all those guests who are looking at your property because it has the pickleball court. You'll get people to pay more on a nightly rate who might have booked your property before, but now that it has that extra amenity, they see some additional value in it. And so, yeah, you can go really inexpensive and spend a few $100s on some nice amenities like outside games and full-length mirrors. You can spend tens of thousands of dollars on really setting your property apart with some amenities that no one else has, and even the YMCA down the street doesn't have it, and really separate yourself. It's up to you and what you want to do. We're happy to help with both.
Okay, and then, all right, well, and then do you guys have, because I've seen, we talk about we're calling it the amenities arms race. Before we had a different name for it. I like this one more. Both of them are, I guess, kind of negative, but arms race, I don't know. I've come from a military family, so maybe, I don't know, feels more fitting. So, do people come to you with underperforming properties and say, "Hey, what do we do here?" Have you predominantly been doing? Because I know the company that you've done 150 with, those are all new, or maybe some of them were existing Airbnbs, but they didn't own them at least. Do people come to you with ones that they have purchased, they have set up, and then say, hey, we need some help here? What can you do?
Yeah, we want to pimp my crib.
Yeah.
Pimp my STR. Yeah, man.
Cribatize. That's what
Cribatize. Yeah, you remember that old show, Pimp My Rides with Exhibit? That was a great show.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we definitely do that. We call those refreshes. And so we're looking at an existing short-term rental and looking at what you can do to level it up, level up your listing. I think the level up your listing summit's going on right now. And I hope there's people are getting a lot of value out of that. But same thing for us. How can you level up your listing? It really comes down to what the property owner is willing to invest in the home and then what you can do. Right. And so it's just like anything. If you want to see a good return and you want great results, you have to be willing to invest in it. You can't go cheap. And so that would really be my message. We'd love to help you. Make sure that you come with a healthy budget and you're ready to invest in the home. And if you don't have that, then just take some of the tips that we gave you today and follow some of our work and, steal some of our ideas and do it kind of on your own until you're ready. But there's lots of ways to level up your property.
Yeah, and I when I set up properties, I generally, I think a lot of people, or probably these big, the institutional players who talk about, they want to do everything at the beginning.
Right.
They don't want to have to come back a year down the line and do additional work. For me, I'm with a fixed budget. I try to make all my dollars go as far as possible. Sometimes, I'll launch a property. For example, I launched a property in August of last year. I think I bought it in July, and I was like, look, I got to get this up. It's the summer. This house has a pool. I know that the high season here is like the next 3 months. I'm not gonna add my hot tub in July, August. Like I'm gonna wait, get those bookings, put some cash in that bank account, and then in December I'm gonna add the hot tub. Do people? I guess my question is like, do you recommend kind of that tiered approach, or is it better just get it all done with from the get go?
Yeah, like phases. We talk about it in phases, and it really just depends on who you are. Like you said, there's some clients that want to do it all up front, but there's others where, like you said, there's situations where it just doesn't make sense to have your property closed for 3 months while you're doing renovations. And so on those, we're happy to stagger it and do things in phases. Maybe we can get furniture in and some wallpaper and some decor and a couple outside amenities now, let you run through the busy season, make a bunch of money. And then as things start to slow down, we'll schedule that additional work, those hot tubs to be delivered, pools to be dug, things like that. And so, yes, we're definitely happy to help people.
Pools to be dug. You guys will help schedule pools to be dug. I love that.
Yeah, man.
Y'all add pools.
We add pools. We do everything. I mean,
how much
other than new construction, we'll do new roofs. We do pools. We do anything that you need from a renovation or amenity standpoint. We got you.
How much does a pool cost, by the way?
Yeah, it just depends on where you are. I think where I live in Florida, they start about 40 grand. And then there's a pool we're putting in that's like 120 grand at a Scottsdale mansion. So there's a big range on pools, but yeah, they're not cheap.
And then how long does the permitting process take on a pool?
Yeah, pools take a while. Pools are at least 90 days.
Okay.
Could be a little longer. And so what a lot of folks will do too is they will potentially discount their nightly rate, and they'll put in there as a disclosure like, hey, the backyard is actively having a pool being put in. Sorry about that, but still try to make some money while they're doing that.
And then, okay. So, and then interesting. So I guess all the Florida houses you guys buy, I like to say there's like checkbox amenities and standout amenities.
Yeah.
In certain places, such as Florida, a pool is a checkbox amenity.
Gotta have it.
In certain places, like where you are right now, I mean, does the house you're staying in, does it have a hot tub?
Right below me.
Damn right, because it's a checkbox. You wouldn't, exactly. So the question is like the standout amenities, and I do think, at least for the time being right now, and I think the reason this is because like I looked at my entire portfolio and said, all right, how can I? Okay, the Level Up the Listing Summit is happening right now, so we'll use that terminology. I was gonna just say cribatize. How do we further cribatize our property? How do we level it up?
Yeah,
and the thing that I've seen with pickleball courts, so like, I have a mentee. I talk about him because he's an absolute baller on his own right. He has, barn dominium. He does like luxury barn dominiums. And before doing those are very unique. There's not a lot of them. They do well. Prior to that, he had a cabin in the Smoky Mountains, and it was doing well. I think his first year, 2021, and then 2022, it had like a $30,000, 30% decline. And he reasoned out that there's like 15 brand new builds in his neighborhood, and they all have indoor pools. So at that point, you know, he
I've
can't
seen
really
those
add in.
houses. I've seen that floor plan a dozen times. It's the same
Yeah,
floor plan with that little mini pool downstairs.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So they all have that. You can't really compete with that if you don't have that. You can't build. You can't put. You're not going to dig a basement and put in an indoor pool. However, he thought, what do I have that these properties don't have? And the answer was 2 acres and a portion of my property that's relatively flat, and I can build a 60 by 30 pad. I'm actually curious. What are the dimensions you guys normally do for a pickleball pad?
That's a great question, man. I wish I knew off the top of my head, but I don't.
Because I look at all your guys' different properties and like sometimes they're a little different. You know, sometimes they're just the court with like a foot on the side. You
Yeah.
know,
It comes down to the egress. It comes down to what the county will let you do. A lot of times there's only a certain amount of your yard space you're allowed to use because you've got to keep some of it for rainfall. So yeah, I mean, sometimes they're tight and we squeeze them in, and sometimes they're almost double courts and they're massive.
yeah, the permeability requirements is something I've learned about
Right.
in Florida.
Yep.
Okay, so that being said, he was like, I have space for a pickleball court. Like nobody in the Smoky Mountains
Yep.
has a pickleball court because think about it, they're all mountain houses. They don't really have flat property. So, and people again, they've been building those like kind of off the side of the mountain, 4-bedroom homes with views. That's been the thing. If you look 2 years ago, you're like, oh, those houses. You know, when you were getting plans to build a new property, you were like, that's what I need. You know, because those are what are crushing it today. But then 30 houses in your neighborhood came in with the same exact thing. So it's like, what is something, and that's what I was thinking, what is something that I can add to my properties that I just know other people can't add? And I can't add pickleball courts to every single one of my listings. I can't because I don't have enough space. I might have a septic field and I can't put it on top of that. But there are a few I can add them to. So I'm like, that's definitely something I want to do. And then honestly, when I look for houses from now on, if I'm concerned about defensibility, pickleball courts, you know, like that's, I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, or I'm kind of am I preaching to the choir here, or is something you're seeing?
I mean, definitely, it's like the more you put into the property, the harder you are. The more distance you separate yourself from your competition, the bigger of a moat you dig.
But it's also thinking about what's a checkmark amenity and what's a standout. So, for instance, I actually got engaged in Joshua Tree. My friend Patrick, we had a podcast that we filmed right before my engagement shoot. So you guys should check that one out. And the reason we did that is like, hey, we have a cameraman here. Or I told my fiance, hey, we're gonna have a cameraman. Like, we're in the middle of the desert, so you know, if we have a cameraman for no reason, it's probably a giveaway. What's gonna happen next? So we filmed the podcast and then we got engaged. But that's a side story. But prior to that, we like checked out all of the properties that, you know, some of the ones he owns and a lot of the ones he manages earlier that day. And what I realized is like, damn, in Joshua Tree, pickleball court's becoming a checkbox amenity, you know, because they all have that flat backyard. They all, you know, they have like pretty big, you know, I don't know, 1 acre plots with a flat backyard. So I guess my point is like, is that something you think about? Is like, what's something that just I can do here that no one else can do?
Yeah, definitely. I think the problem with that though is that those what was you had the checkbox amenity, what was the other one?
Versus standout amenity.
Yeah, the standout amenity. What is a standout amenity today is going to become a checkbox amenity in the near future. It might
I would preface that in certain markets with certain amenities, because there are things you just naturally can't recreate, you know. And a pickleball court is really one of those things. You need to have a 60 by 30 flat area. You can't have that everywhere. Where you are, walk around that property you're on right now. Could you build a pickleball court there?
Yeah, well, so I think that question is obviously so specific to the property, right? What does your property have? That property has that flat space in an area where there's not a lot of other places with flat space that can put that pickleball court in. So yes, that becomes a standout amenity there that people can't replicate. So what does your home and your property have that's different and separates it from other people in the market that they can't duplicate? We got a property where we're working on a speakeasy on one of the ADUs. because it has this huge storage space behind the property that can only be accessed through a little door. And we're like, hey, we can make this something really cool that stands out that no one else is going to do. And so being creative, I guess, is what I would say is how can you be really creative and do something that's different than what everyone else is doing and that they wouldn't have thought of? Eventually they might replicate you. And I guess, you know,
But they can't. The point is they can't, you know?
right.
So like I mean I say in urban, like in a city environment, a fenced in backyard is something that your competition can't
For sure.
recreate. You know? That's something that those are hard to find. Is it
Right.
just a house with a fenced in backyard? So that's why I like to think is like what are things, sure, there's certain things that are check marks amenities and in certain markets just frankly a Joshua tree like that again, it's just easy to add stuff to the property, you know? So eventually it just becomes like a landscaping arms race.
Definitely.
So always think about like when you're looking at a new property, it's like, hey, does this have defensibility? So that's something I, you know, based off what you said, I thought was a good point to cover. Anything else? Any other tips, ideas of, I mean, you guys are obviously, you're crushing it. You're helping your clients crush it. Like how can folk listening today just crush it in 2024?
Yeah. Just to close off your last point. Yes, that's awesome. What has defensibility, and when you're analyzing properties, what's unique about it that will help it stand out? And that's really done in the acquisitions phase. And so like I'm just going to give a little shout out to those guys at STR Search. I don't know if you know John and Taylor, but
Yeah.
they do
Oh,
a
for
great
sure.
job. Yeah, they do a great job helping people find properties that are
Mhm.
unique and that have things that the competition won't have. And so, yeah, if we have that great foundation of a great property that's different and has things that can't be duplicated, that's really a great start. Um, and then, yeah, what else can I tell you guys? What other nuggets? I would just
STR, what
say
is so he? I've got the email from John. I've seen the Instagram. S he just launched STR search.
STR Search. Yep.
What is or what is? I'm just curious. What is it?
Yeah, yeah. They're helping folks identify properties and go through the purchase and acquisition phase
Got it. So
for
property finding service.
property finding service. Yep. And they've got a lot of history and background and credibility in what they do. And so I've had a lot of success with a few of my clients that went to them and have already found great properties, and we're furnishing with them as well. And so,
Sure.
yeah, I mean,
All
you,
love.
yeah, it's all love, man. You start with a good foundation and you hire a team that knows what they're doing. I think you're setting yourself up for success. And then, you know, what are other takeaways people can have? I would say take it seriously. Like, don't think that just because what worked a couple years ago is going to work anymore. And so really consider the amenities, the design, the uniqueness of your property in the short-term rental game. And it is an amenities arms race. It's who has the most unique property that's different, that stands out, that creates the best guest experience. That's who's going to win. And that's not who won a couple years ago, right? It was just air mattresses and a hot plate, and that got you. It was a key for success, and that's really not the key for success anymore.
Absolutely. Awesome. So you guys heard it here. Mark, how can they want to like stay in tune with your personal journey? Maybe if they want to reach out to you for any questions or see how you can help them, how can they find you?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm heavy on LinkedIn, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I post every single day, 365 days a year, tips, projects, what we're doing relevant to the short-term rental design and furnishing and renovation space. So definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. Do you want to drop my email and my phone number in the notes afterwards, and people can contact me that way?
If you just have a website,
Yeah,
Kat,
go
if
to
you're
S.
listening, I have my assistant here, so she hears that and knows to do it.
Puts it in. Yeah, go
But
to
if you just want to give a
STR Cribs.
website, I think that or social media, that'd be easiest.
Yeah, go to strcribs.com. There's a link to book directly with me. Phone number's on there. You can get a hold of me like that. So strcribs.com is the best place to find us.
Beautiful, awesome guys. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed. Mark, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate it.
No problem. Stay tuned until the next episode. And everybody listening, if y'all could give me some love and hit this with a 5-star and share it with your friends, that would be awesome. Because again, we're trying to add as much value to you guys as possible. So that would really help us and the whole podcast algorithm and all that. So make sure to do that. And love y'all. See you guys next week.